Hi folks, Hank Pyro here, and this is going to be my second Q related installment. Um, I'm going to try to upgrade the audio this time, and let's hope that works well. Uh, just want to talk a little bit about the legitimacy of Q and also how um, I came to accept Q, accept the validity of Q. Um, and I'll make this quick. Originally, when Trump came on the scene, he was inaugurated. I thought for a long time this guy is in over his head. I mean, I like Trump and I voted for him. I would have supported him, but let's just say that the swamp runs deep. It's a bigger swamp than we thought. The mosquitoes all spread, malaria, and it's a bad place. It's much worse, and maybe Trump had bitten off more than he could chew. If you remember back to the early days of the administration, there were a lot of leaks, There were a lot of people just going out of their way to try to make the president look bad, and in some ways they were succeeding. And I was really hoping Jeff Sessions would step up and just crush the opposition. And then the Russian probe was the special counsel, the Mueller thing, whatever you want to call that circus, was launched. And I thought to myself, that Jeff Sessions had recused himself. Jeff Sessions had looked the other way. Jeff Sessions wasn't doing anything. And then Sessions, somewhere, I think this had already happened, he'd announced that the lowest learners and people from the Obama administration who had committed serious criminal offenses would not be prosecuted. Sessions did a number of things to irritate all of us who, that's the reason why we elected Donald Trump, was for the anti-corruption movement that he represents. There's a lot of reasons for jumping on the Trump train, but the whole drain the swamp, destroy the corruption, let's at least try to resist the widespread abuse of power, that was very unifying, and that was a big selling point for Donald Trump. So time passed, and I thought that Sessions should resign. And then I felt, well, more specifically, Donald Trump should fire Jeff Sessions. And I went to Facebook, and well, first I filed a petition. What is the name of that place? Doesn't really matter. It's a place where you can get to file a petition. If you get a whole bunch of petitions, they bring it to the White House, I think, or I'm not even sure. But it's a petition site. And I went and filed a petition asking the president to fire Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Okay? And on advice of a good friend who's a real Facebook kind of guy. He's a good guy, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of my best friends are Facebook kinds of guys and gals. They like Facebook. He advised me to join a bunch of pro-Trump Facebook groups, and he'd already went and recruited the groups. I mean, he said, here they are. Sent me the links to each one of them. And I joined roughly a dozen pro-Trump groups on Facebook. And I didn't want to just say, hey, come sign my petition. That's my reason for being here. So I, would send out a blurb, oh, so happy to be here. And then maybe 2 or 3 posts later, I would say, oh, by the way, here's the petition that I'm circulating. And just a little, I always hear about the wonders of Facebook as a advertising system, an advertising medium. Oh, they can target anything. They're brilliant. Got to be on Facebook. Facebook is it. We've heard that for so long. But anyway, I enrolled with roughly a dozen pro-Trump groups, and that netted me 22 signatures on my petition. 22. Mm-hmm. It, I mean, the time I spent to get those 22 signatures, the signature asking that the president fire the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, took me about an hour per signature. That's that's what democracy looks like. That's not a very good use of my time, and I was really demoralized. I thought all we had put into having a movement, an amorphous movement, but a movement nonetheless, a populist movement based on honesty, integrity of government, based on transparency, based on egalitarianism, all those things that was represented by Donald Trump. It was all coming to an end because of silly Jeff Sessions and all the, and maybe that Donald Trump himself, he just walked into too much. The task was too much for him. The deep state's going to win after all. That 2016 was just a little bump in the road for him. They'd have Obama back in office, or he'd have Valerie Jarrett as president, and Obama would be acting in some other capacity, I don't know, Secretary of State or something like that. I was very discouraged. And about, it's hard for me to put this in exact time frame, but about 3 months later, is when I discovered Q. And as I've said before, at first I was not especially impressed with Q. It took me a while for Q to grow on me, but after about a month or so of being exposed to Q, I was hooked and I was impressed. And it's from that point onward where I haven't really changed my focus since about the start of 2018. I've somewhere around there I changed my perspective on Q, and the reason being is Q has been so good for our morale. Where it looked like Jeff Sessions wasn't doing anything, Q would come out and say, trust the plan, and more specifically he would say, trust Sessions. So I do trust Sessions. I trust Huber. I trust Kansas. I trust Ray to some degree. I'm still a little, I don't know. Maybe not as, there are limits to trust. There are degrees to trust. But I think Sessions will come through for us. Now, to back up on the legitimacy of Q, it should be stated that Q is not a conspiracy. Q is not a theory. Ergo, Q cannot be a conspiracy theory. But is he legitimate? Is all this verbiage, does it all add up to something? Is he a fake, a fraud, or dare we say it, a lark? Don't really like that word, but is he a fake? It all comes down to one thing, and that's whether or not this storm, the storm, if it ever transpires, will we see and hear and feel the storm we heard so much about, that has been so hyped? That ultimately will determine the legitimacy of Q. For me, I'm hoping there's a big Category 5 storm, a D5 avalanche. I'm hoping it happens. I really do. But That ultimately, that's the test. Okay, this is the end, so roll the credits.